Town Creek Indian Mound lies near Mount Gilead, North Carolina, and it was settled by the Indians in the 1400s, and it was during the Mississippian type period culture. And that's the temple mound there in their ceremonial temple. And the river runs alongside, real close to it, right by it there. It's a big place there too. Now those, we've gone inside the visitor center here, and those are some scrapers. They're arrowheads, but they're not finished arrowheads. They're just scrapers that were used by the Indians to scrape hides off of the animals that they killed, and that type thing.
Wait a minute.
And there are the oldest
that's the Hardaway-Dalton
arrowheads outside of the Clovis
Mine was a
point,
Hardaway side notch.
in North Carolina. The oldest and most coveted by artifact collectors is
There's
the Hardaway-Dalton,
too,
which was the one we just saw.
I've got some of
About
those.
12,000 BC. And then that one there is after the Hardaway, and it's called the Palmer point, and it has serrated edges, and about 8,000 BC. And that's your Hardaway-Dalton again, and very prized to artifact collectors. Now here we have, after the Palmer point, you have the Kirk Corner Notch, which is about 7,000 BC. And then we have the Stanley points, about 5,000, into the Mara Mountain points.
Did you look at the Mara Mountains?
And you have two types of Mara Mountain. Mara Mountain 1 and Mara Mountain 2. And the 2 has a more pronounced stem on it than the Mara Mountain 1 does. Those are your Guilford Yumas. They call them Yumas because they have a concave base. And then we have the Savannah Rivers, about 1000 BC. And that's give or take. They overlap in age. In Mara Mountain 1 and Mara Mountain 2. Kirk Corner Notch again, Stanley. And down here we have, they're showing stone pottery there, carved out of stone. And those are the oldest cooking utensils, or utensils that you would eat out of, that there were. The primitive kind were actually carved out of stone. And then later on, the Indians learned how to make pottery, and then they made their pottery for cooking or for display or whatever. Highly prized Hardaways. Palmers. More historic period now, up to 1400 there. Now the Celts are like an axe, but without the groove in them. And these were used up in the Mississippian type period, which is anywhere, say, from 700 to 1700 AD. And that's just showing some pottery and different designs. They put different designs on their pottery. Those are drills. I think we'll get back to the axes in a minute. That's some more pottery down there, and they're showing a shell gorget or a pendant made out of shell, and then the shell beads right there, and then your historic period again, gourds that they use. Pottery again. And they were able to put designs on the pottery in different ways. Sometimes they would use nets, and that would they would just put the net around the pottery and push it into the pottery to make designs. They call that net impressed. Sometimes they use cloth and put designs on the pottery that way. And I'll show you later on. We'll come to another way they put designs on the pottery. Now this we have is the pottery pipes. Of course, these were later on. Naturally, after they started making pottery, they were able to come up with pottery pipes. Make pipes out of clay, make the pottery pipes. That's discoidal there, called discoidal. And it's like a game stone type thing. Now there we have your huge pottery. They actually use these as burials. When they buried their dead, they would bury them in the huge pottery like that. Those are hoes, farming hoes. And this shows how they fix the arrowheads or the spears to the end of the shaft. And they'll show show you a closer up of it right here. Shows how they fix the arrowheads to the spear shafts. And tie them on sometimes. And this shows different ways of making the pottery, different steps to it. And here we have the pottery designs and the way they either use nets or cloth. But the pottery paddles right there have designs on them, and they use those paddles to hit the sides of the pottery when they're making them to put the designs on the pottery. And that's a close-up of the showing a shell pendant there. Shell beads. And back to the displays again with the showing the points in the visitor center. Now here they're showing some examples of Cherokee pottery made by the Cherokee Indians of North Carolina. And there in that display they have a real beautiful Hardaway, plus an obsidian spear in the center. That is a long black obsidian spear, and it's about 7 inches long. And obsidian is made out of volcanic glass, and the Indians use that for ceremonial objects and for ceremonial spears and that type of thing. And that's a beautiful spear. In a minute, I get her to get it out so I can look at it and get a better look at it. And there's several Hardaways laying there around it, and Kirks. Hardaways and Kirks. I was busy talking to her and looking at the same time, so it's not too clear there. Where I'm gonna keep moving the camera around. More pottery there. And they do sell books in there. They've got quite a few books on display and to sell. Books on Indian arrowheads and archaeology of North Carolina and that type thing. There's a good book right there. Stone arrowheads and spears. I can't see it. No. Arrowheads and spear points was one. And I can't read that. Stone Age spears and arrowheads, that's what that one is. And then books on North Carolina.
An arrowhead. Sure. Y'all took it out.
And different things you can buy.
I went and photographed that real pretty obsidian, that one right there. No, I mean, can you take it out so I can
In a minute she'll take that spear out for me. More books on display there. And more artifacts on the bottom shelf there. Now this is just a big display they have of the layout of the Town Creek complex there. And it shows just how they had everything arranged. And then it shows all the huts in the center, plus the ones outside of that fenced area. Shows how they lived outside of it also, and shows just how they were. And there's that spear. It's laying right there on top of the. She took it out and laid it on the counter there, but that is glass, obsidian, volcanic glass, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And it's about 7 inches long. I would say 7. I'm just guessing right now, but I'm thinking 7 inches. Because I didn't actually measure it when we were looking at it. But it looks to be about 7 inches. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous.
They did a good job. Thank you.
And then that's showing the Town Creek Indian Mound again. And this is right before we left.
Before you've already got all this stuff on tape.
Or actually, we do walk down there. I forgot. We did go down there and look at it one more time, and then we leave. It shows who helps to support the Town Creek Indian Mound. You go through a little entrance way there.
See, they built all this.
Yeah, I understand.
And then you're inside of the area. And there's one of the huts, and then the one on top of the mound there is more like a ceremonial hut or something, I think. temple, like a temple. It shows how they made them. And there's a big area there, and it's really nice. Another one of the huts there. And then we're heading on back to the visitor center. So that's Town Creek Indian Mound, right outside of Mount Gilead, North Carolina.
I'm ready just about. I just
Very nice.
View of the mound.
State park now, yeah.